You know what has to be great as an NFL team is when the other NFL team that you're playing against doesn't even try to beat you. And I feel like that's what happened this past Sunday with the Bills and Broncos. The Bills obviously win the game 20-3, improves to 8-3 on the season, and I don't even think the Broncos tried to beat them. Like, they end up with 134 total yards on 50 plays. I mean, those numbers are bad enough in and of themselves. 50 plays is pretty low. 134 yards is insanely low. That's less than 3 yards per play. I read that it's like the fourth lowest yards per play in the league this year, and like maybe fifth, and like 3 of them are the Jets when they didn't have Darnold. Like, they had like Luke Falk out there. So like, that's hysterically bad. You know, like I said, 9 first downs, sacked 4 times, the interception. It's like they were just out, and especially when they got down 13. Like, the Bills were really never in danger. I know that they were up, it was like 6-0 at halftime, but especially when the Bills went up 13-0, the Broncos were just like, we're good here. Get us out of here. It was kind of like a similar script as the Redskins game. Like, the Bills were just going down the field, they kicked a field goal, they kick another field goal. They're like, let's just put points up every single time and make this guy Brandon Allen come back and beat us, because we don't think he's going to. And Vic Fangio, being the old school run the ball coach, defensive minded ball coach that he is, kind of like Bill Callahan is with the Redskins, just was run, pass, run, pass, run, screen, pass, screen, run. Like, it was just pathetic the way they were trying to beat the Bills. They had no chance at it. And I got to be honest with you, going into the game, I was like, this doesn't feel like it's in the bag. Because this team was up 20-0 in Minnesota last week, and you know, they clearly can score some points. They were 3 yards or whatever away from beating Minnesota, 1 completion away from beating Minnesota last week in Minnesota. So I thought they would put up a bit more of a fight than they did. And kudos to the Bills, honestly. Kudos to the Bills defense for having, you know, their best performance of the year defensively. The same goes to the offense. The offense, for the second week in a row, well, the Bills as a team, the offense specifically, same amount of yards as last week against the Dolphins, 424. Same amount of first downs, 22. Same margin of victory, 17. That's crazy to me. That seems insanely unlikely. The same amount of total yards on the same amount of first downs, and you win by the same amount. I don't know how often that happens. I gotta imagine it's really, really rare. And I think most of you would agree. But, you know, 35 minutes time of possession. They like I said, they were just never in danger. Even though it was 6-0, at halftime, it was kind of like that with the Redskins too. Like, they just were like, we're not gonna lose to these guys. They're not gonna beat us. Brandon Allen went 10 of 25 for 82 yards. He completed 1 nice pass all day. It was that play to Sutton in the first quarter on the first drive, and it made you think like, oh, maybe Denver's gonna do something here. And they get backed up. They end up punting, and then, I mean, they pretty much punted all day. Like, he had 82 yards passing, 27 on that play to Sutton. Sutton has 1 catch on 8 targets. And then 18 on that play to Andrew Beck. Like, that's a real NFL player. Who is that? He catches this play action, this dump off at his knees with 1 hand and goes for 18. Like, there's 45 of your 82 yards right away. And Brandon Allen in the second half was like, I think I saw 3 of 14 for 4 yards, and 2 of those completions came on the first drive that they had. It was so bad, just so bad from Denver all around. Von Miller said after the game that they got whooped, and he's right, they got whooped. And Von Miller had 1 sack in the first half. Otherwise, I thought Cody Ford did a really nice job with him. I thought that would be kind of like a game wrecker type of thing, and didn't really matter. Didn't hinge. No part of the game hinged on Von Miller and Cody Ford. So that's good. Singletary goes over 100 for the first time for the Bills. On 21 carries, he ends up with 22 total touches, 114 total yards. Frank Gore gets his 65 yards rushing, goes to 3rd all time. That was pretty cool to see in the stadium. Allen, pretty regular day for him. 185, 2 touchdowns, 56 rushing. Didn't he have 56 rushing last week too? So add that in like the same stats. Same amount of total yards, same amount of rushing yards by the quarterback, same margin of victory, same amount of first downs. Weird. he does throw an interception for the first time since the Titans game, and it really was. I have to put it squarely on him, because I even like to play like this thing, and then he tucks it, or well, the little tuck, and maybe that's a read option, you know. Maybe he has the opportunity to give that ball to, I believe it was Singletary, and then throw it, but he's like, oh, I see Brown coming across the middle, but man, that thing just sailed on him. So, you know, that's a real interception, I guess. Not that the other interceptions he's throwing aren't real, obviously, but like, he had this habit for like running around and throwing across his body. This one just kind of took off on him, which you don't want to see, obviously, but it's better than him throwing across his body and forcing it into some tight window. And granted, Brown looked, he wasn't wide open, certainly. I don't even know if he was open, but it just went right over his head, and Justin Simmons was there. But the Bills come back down, or well, they get the pick from Trey White on the ensuing possession. So really, like, no harm, no foul, and you can't plan on that every week, obviously. The penalty on the interception return by Simmons obviously helped because it backed him up a little bit. And like I said, they were never in danger. Even at 6-0, you're thinking, oh well, you're only one play away from losing, but at the same time, you're not threatened by the Broncos. Nice game from Beasley. That was good to see. 6 for 76 in the touchdown. Brown didn't go over 50 yards for the first time this season. Probably could have. He had one drop over the middle, but the touchdown was nice. Josh Allen finally hits a pass over 30 yards. First 30 air yards. First completion for him there. That's good to see. Defense coming up with 4 sacks again after 7 last week. Great to see Shaq Lawson having a good game, finding his way into, maybe forcing the Bills' hand a little bit into a new contract. So, I mean, I don't know if they're thinking that right now, but he's shown more pass rush ability than Trent Murphy, and Trent Murphy has 1 year left on his deal. I don't know if the Bills will want to keep him around, and maybe use some of that money to help keep Shaq. Obviously, they want to keep money for Trey White when that comes up, potentially for Allen when that comes up, potentially for Edmonds and Milano and Hyde and Poyer. They got to think about these things, but that's down the road. Right now, Bills 8-3, playing on Thanksgiving. Before we talk about the Cowboys, let's take a quick look at the standings, I suppose. A lot of things kind of went right, I would say, for the Bills. The Raiders got killed by the Jets. Obviously, the Texans and Colts game, I guess I was glad to see the Texans because the Colts already have 5 conference losses. Granted, they still have 3 games against NFC teams. So, but you want the team, I would think, with the more conference losses to fall behind you, because that would become the tiebreaker since they don't play the Colts. And the Colts play the Titans this week. So I think, and they're both 6-5, I think you're going to want the Titans to win that game so that the Colts fall to 6 losses and the Titans would go to 7-5. But you have the tiebreaker over the Titans because you've already beaten them. The Raiders play at Kansas City. So, I mean, I think you can, I don't want to assume, obviously, but you can probably plan on the Raiders falling to 6-6. You think that Kansas City would beat them, but you know what? Kansas City's 7-4 and the Raiders are 6-5. Like, that's for a tie at first place in the division. But I still feel pretty confident Kansas City's going to win that game. So, like, if you think about it that way, like, and then the Browns play the Steelers. So maybe, and the Steelers are starting Devlin Hodges as a quarterback, and the Browns have won 3 in a row. So, I mean, maybe you want the Browns to win that game despite not having the tiebreaker with the Browns. I think you do. I think you want as many teams at 6 losses as possible. So, if the Browns beat the Steelers, let's just say that for the sake of this, the Browns and Steelers are 6-6. If no matter who wins between the Titans and Colts, one of them is going to be 6-6. So, and then the Raiders lose to the Chiefs, very possible on the road, they would be 6-6. So the Bills, even if they lose, are 8-4, and then the only team that's 7-5 would be the Titans or the Colts, whoever wins that game. Then you'd have the Raiders at 6-6, the loser of the Colts and Titans at 6-6, the Browns at 6-6. So the Bills would have 4 games left and 2 games up on 7th place. 1 game up on the Titans, or the Titans or Colts, who would be 7-5. Sorry if this is difficult to follow, but and then the Bills would be obviously, or then everyone else would be 6-6. So that would be good to see, being at least 2 games up on a playoff spot with 4 to go is ideal. So let's just talk about maybe you want to win, maybe you want to beat the Cowboys. If the Bills are 9-3 and all those things play out, I mean, if the Bills are 9-3 with 4 games to go, you should have the full expectation that they make the playoffs, and you should really probably be there already. But this upcoming schedule looks a little daunting. At Dallas on Thanksgiving, and then obviously Baltimore, who is killing people right now, and that Pittsburgh might be a must-have, and New England, obviously. So the schedule is like topic of conversation. But let's start with Dallas. Dallas on Thanksgiving. Wow, that's fun. This is fun, right? The Bills haven't been on Thanksgiving since the early '90s. At Dallas. Like that's the prime time. People are having dinner, watching football. Like they're watching the Bills, and people might not know if the Bills are 8-3, but they're gonna look at their TVs and they're like, "How is Buffalo 8-3?" And then you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna look up the schedule and see who they beat, and everyone's gonna downgrade them for whatever. But you know what? Dallas is the same way. Dallas is 5 out of 6. Dallas hasn't beat a team with a winning record. No, they have not. Here's who Dallas has beaten. Eli Manning, quarterbacks, they've beaten. Eli Manning, Daniel Jones, 2 wins against the Giants. Case Keenum, Josh Rosen, Jeff Driscoll, and Carson Wentz. They killed Philly. To much of their credit, they killed Philly at home. But like they're not world beaters by any means. But they are very, very good on offense. They're first in the league in yards. They get their yards. Dak averages 312 a game. Zeke averages 84 rushing. As a team, they average like 130 yards rushing per game. They're 8th running the football, 1st passing, I believe. Let me double check that. Yes, 1st in passing yards, 8th in rushing. Pretty good on defense too. 6th in total yards, 6th against the pass, 15th against the run. They will not have Leighton Vander Esch on Thursday. That's a decent-sized loss for them. He plays like 90+% of the snaps, alongside Jalen Smith, who has turned out to be a terrific player after that injury he suffered at Notre Dame. The weapon. I'm going to go back to the weapons on offense real quick. The Cooper, the Gallup, Jason Witten's still there, Blake Jarwin. Cobb, he was even good in the slot. Like, they have 3 guys over 500 yards receiving. Cobb is 581, Gallup 733, Cooper 886. They have 13 touchdown receptions combined. I mean, they're threat. Like, they have threats all over the field. So I don't know if you're going to see Trey White necessarily follow Cooper around the field. They really haven't done that much this year. I have seen him do it. But I'm not sure if that would be in the game plan again, because Gallup is such a threat at wide receiver too, and that is where some of you might be worried about Levi Wallace. Levi Wallace and Kevin Johnson didn't exactly split this past week. Levi definitely played a little bit more than the previous week, where he was kind of sat a little bit as they. Let me take a look real quick against the Browns. After the Browns game, because Levi had a tough game against the Browns. So they played a little bit more Kevin Johnson last week, and Levi got a bit more of the share of the snaps on defense this past week. Having said all that, it's the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. I mean, that sounds maybe more daunting than it is. The Cowboys are 4-5 since 2010 on Thanksgiving, just 4-5. But I feel like they're always favored. Like, they were favored to beat the Panthers when the Panthers were 10-0, and the Panthers beat them by 19. So, are they an intimidating team? Maybe not necessarily, but it's a big stage. Big stage for the Bills. Like, they can really put themselves on the map with a win. Everybody's watching. Dallas is a 7-point favorite. Like I said, I feel like they're always favored. But, like, a 7-point favorite means, like, they think Dallas wins this game maybe, like, 80% of the time. 3 out of 4. 4 out of 5 times. So you're not really getting a ton of respect, despite the fact that you're 2 games better than the Cowboys. I would love to pick the Bills. I feel like I kind of can't. I obviously could. I'm losing nothing by doing it, but I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win the game 27-21. They got all those things going on internally, too. With Jason Garrett and Jerry Jones calling out the coaching staff and whatnot. And Garrett not having an extension after this year, but I think, the Eagles came into Buffalo and put all that to bed, so I'm not going to pick, so I'm going to stay with the Cowboys. Cowboys 27-21. Guys, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Enjoy your weekend. I will talk to you next week, hopefully, with the 9-3 Buffalo Bills. As always, above all else, go Bills.